Chapter 14: How to Make Good Habits Inevitable and Bad Habits Impossible. In the summer of 1830, Victor Hugo was facing an impossible deadline. 12 months earlier, the French author had promised his publisher a new book, but instead of writing, he spent that years pursuing other projects, entertaining guests, and delaying his work. Frustrated, Hugo's publisher responded by setting a deadline less than 6 months away. The book had to be finished by February 1831. Hugo concocted a strange plan to beat his procrastination. He collected all of his clothes and asked his assistant to lock them away in a large chest. He was left with nothing to wear except a large shawl, lacking any suitable clothing to go outdoors. He remained in his study and wrote furiously during the fall of and winter of 1830. The Hunchback of Notre Dame was published 2 weeks early on January 14, 1831. Sometimes success is less about making good habits easy and about making bad habits hard. This is an inversion of the third law of behavior change. Make it difficult. If you find yourself continually struggling to follow through on your plans, then you can take a page from Victor Hugo and make your habit more difficult by creating what psychologists call a commitment device. A commitment device is a choice you make in the present that controls your actions in the future. It is the way to lock in future behavior, bind you to good habits, and restrict from bad ones. When Victor Hugo shut his clothes away so he could focus on writing, he was creating a commitment device. There are many ways to create commitment device. You can reduce overreacting overeating by purchasing food in individual packages rather than in bulk size. You can voluntarily ask to be added to the banned list at casinos and online poker sites to prevent future gambling sprees. I have even heard of an athlete who had to make wait for a competition, choosing to leave their wallets at home during the week before weigh-in so they won't be tempted to buy fast food. As another example, my friend and fellow habits expert Nir Eyal purchased an outlet timer, which is an adapter that he plugged in between his internet router and the power outlet. At 10 p.m. each night, the outlet timer cuts off the power to the router. When the internet goes off, everyone knows it is time to go to bed. Commitment devices are useful because they enable you to take advantage of good intentions before you can fall victim to the temptation. Whenever I am looking to cut calories, for example, I will ask the waiter to split my meal and box half of it go before the meal is served. If I waited until the meal can come out and told myself I will just eat half, it would never work. The key is to change the task such that it requires more work to get out of this good habit than to get started on it. If you are feeling motivated to get in shape, schedule a yoga session and pay ahead of time. If you're excited about the business you want to start, email an entrepreneur you respect and set up a consulting call. When the time comes to act, the only way to bail is to cancel the meeting, which requires effort and may cost money. Commitment devices increase the odds that you will do the right thing in the future by making bad habits difficult in the present. However, we can do even better. We can make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. How to automate a good habit and never think about it again. John Henry Patterson was born in Dayton, Ohio in 1844. He spent his childhood doing chores in the family farm and working shifts at his father's sawmill. After attending a college at Dartmouth, Patterson returned to Ohio and opened a small supply store for coal miners. It seemed like a good opportunity. The store faced little competition and enjoyed a steady stream of customers, but still struggled to make money. That was when Patterson discovered his employees were stealing from him. In the mid 1800s, employee theft was a common problem. Receipts were kept in an open drawer and could easily be altered and discarded. There were no video cameras to review behavior and no software to track transaction. Unless you were willing to hover your employees every minute of the day or to manage all transactions yourself, it was difficult to prevent theft. As Patterson mulled over his predicament, he came across an advertisement for new invention called Ritty's Incorruptible Cashier. Designer by follow Dayton resident James Ritty, it was the first cash register. The machine automatically locked the cash and receipts inside after each transaction. Patterson bought two for $50 each Employee theft at his store vanished overnight. In the next 6 months, Patterson's business went losing money to making $5,000 in profit, the equivalent of more than $1 lakh today. Patterson was so impressed at the machine that he changed business. He bought the rights to British invention and opened the National Cash Register Company. 10 years later, the National Cash Register had over 1,000 employees and was on its way to becoming one of the most successful businesses of its time. The best way to break bad habits is to make it impractical to do. Increase the friction until you don't even have the option to act. The brilliance of a cash register was that it automated ethical behavior by making stealing practical possible. Rather than trying to change the employees, it made the preferred behavior automatic. Some actions like the installing a cash register pay off again and again. These one-time choices require a little bit of effort upfront but create increasing value over time. I am fascinated by the idea that a single choice can deliver returns again and again, and I surveyed my readers on the favorite one-time actions that lead to better long-term habits. The table on the following page shares some of the most popular answers. I had wager that if an average person were to simply do half of the one-time action on the list, even if they did not give another thought to their habits, most would find themselves living a better life a year from now. These one time actions are straightforward way to employ the third law of behavior change. They make it easier to sleep well and eat healthy, to be productive, save money, and generally live better. Of course, there are many ways to automate good habits and eliminate bad ones. Typically, they involve putting technology to work for you. Technology can transform actions that once hard, annoying, and complicated into behaviors that are easy, painless, and simple. It is the most reliable and effective way to guarantee the right behavior. This is particularly useful for behavior that happen too infrequently to become habitual. Things you have to do monthly or yearly, like rebalancing your investment portfolio, are never repeated frequently enough to become a habit. So they benefit in a particular from technology remembering to do them for you. Medicine. Prescriptions can be automatically refilled. Second, personal finance. Employees can save for retirement without an automatic wage deduction. Cooking. Meal delivery services can do your grocery shopping. Productivity. Social media browsing can be cut off with a website blocker. When you automate as much of your life as possible, you can spend your effort on the task machines cannot do yet. Each habit that we hand over to the authority of technology frees up time and energy to pour to the next stage of growth. As mathematician and philosopher Alfred North Whitehead wrote, civilization advances by extending the number of operations we can perform without thinking about them. Of course, the power of technology can work against as well. Binge watching becomes a habit because you have to put more effort and stop looking at the screen than to continue doing so. Instead of pressing a button to advance the next episode, Netflix or YouTube will autoplay it for you. All you have to do is to keep your eyes open. Technology creates a level of convenience that enables you to act on your smallest whims and desires. At the mere suggestion of hunger, you can have food delivered to your door. At the slightest hint of boredom, you can get lost in the vast expanse of social media. When the effort required to act on desires becomes effectively zero, you can find yourself slipping onto whatever impulse arises at the moment. The downside of the automation is that we can find ourselves jumping from easy task to easy task without making for more difficult but ultimately more rewarding work. I often find myself gravitating towards social media during any downtime. If I feel bored for just a fraction of a second, I reach my phone, and it's easy to write off these minor distractions as just taking a break, but over time they can accumulate into a serious issue. The constant tug of just one more minute can prevent me from doing anything of consequence. I am not the only one. The average person spends over 2 hours per day on social media. What could you do with an extra 6 hours 100 per year? During the year I was writing this book, that I experimented with a new time management strategy. Every Monday, my assistant would reset the password on my all social media accounts, which logged me out on each device. All week, I worked without distraction. On Friday, she would send me the new password. I had entire week to enjoy the social media had to offer until Monday morning when she would do it again. If you don't have an assistant, team up with a friend or family member and reset each other's password each week. One of the biggest surprises was how quickly I adapted. Within first week of locking myself out of social media, I realized that I didn't need to check it nearly as often as I had been. I certainly didn't need it each day. It had simply been so easy that it became the default. Once my bad habit became impossible, I discovered that I did actually have the motivation to work on more meaningful tasks. After I removed the mental candy from my environment, it became much easier to eat the healthy stuff. When working in your favor, automation can make your good habits inevitable and your bad habits impossible. It's the ultimate way to lock in the future behavior rather than relying on willpower on in the moment. By utilizing commitment devices, strategic one-time decisions, and technology, you can create environment of inevitability, a space where good habits are not just an outcome you hope for, but an outcome that is virtually guaranteed. Chapter summary. The inversion of the third law behavior change is to make it difficult. A commitment device is choice you make in the present that locks in the better in the future. One time choices like buying a better mattress or enrolling in an automatic savings plan are single actions that automate your future habits and deliver increasingly returns over time. Using technology to automate your habits is the most reliable and effective way to guarantee the right behavior.